Tamika is an amazing person. Most of you probably already know Tamika. She's actually a former colleague of us here at the Georgia Archives, and we miss her greatly. She's gone on to do amazing things. She is the manager of the Reference and Research Division at the Auburn Avenue Research Library. So visit her there. And she also currently serves as the president of GGS. She first got into genealogy while planning a series of family history workshops at a library where she worked. And then she quickly realized she had a real passion and talent for it. Since then, she shared that passion through talks and workshops at places like her alma mater, Emory University, and the Atlanta History Center. Tamika also leads a monthly genealogy discussion group and stays active in several genealogy organizations. She is a thrill of the hunt type of researcher who loves helping others uncover their family stories while helping chase down those of her own. Everyone, please help me in welcoming Tamika Strong to the Georgia.
For those kind words. You got me up here blushing this early in the morning. So before I begin, I wanted to thank you all for coming out. This is the culmination of the 60th anniversary celebration for the Georgia Genealogical Society. Back in April of 1964, several people got together and decided that they wanted to start an organization. And that organization exists and it strives and it continues on carrying on that legacy to this day. And so I wanted to say first, thank you to the Georgia Archives. They have a special place in my heart because of course I worked here, but also the team that's here, Robin, who does a phenomenal job with doing programs and bringing people to the archives, which is very important. Because believe it or not, people are afraid to come here for some reason. So we want to try to make it inviting as much as possible. Thank you to Chris Davison for his leadership for the archives. And also a shout out to the phenomenal archive staff. They are amazing. These are the people who are working hard day in and day out to make sure that one, you have access to all the records that are found here in this institution, which is a lot. It's a lot of records here. But they also make sure to create access points. And they're just a great group of folks. So if you get a chance to see one of them, thank them for their service because they are working hard on your behalf to make sure that the records of Georgia are always accessible. So also I have to thank the board of the Georgia Genealogical Society. I don't see any current board members up here today. There are at least 3 of us here, 2 of which are downstairs. And I just want to thank them for their service. And also, since we're culminating the 60th anniversary, I know I'm talking a whole lot about GGS, which I'm wearing my GGS hat today, so I have to. If you have ever served on the board, volunteered, or did anything with regards to GGS, would you mind standing? Miss Ann, is she here? Hey. So I just want to say thank you to everyone who has served in the past and who may possibly serve in the future, because right now we're going through nominations. So if you think you want to serve the state or the organization in a position on our board or as a volunteer, please reach out to us because we're looking for a few good people, if you will. Okay, so I'm trying to think, is that all the thanks I had to give? I think that's it. So you guys were given an extra sheet of paper when you came in. So this program is a little bit different. I tried to crowdsource it so that it will give people an opportunity to share their own tips, because we know that genealogy sometimes is a solo endeavor, right? You're typically doing it by yourself. You get excited about something, you try to tell your family looking at you like you got a second head, they really don't care. But you yourself are a resource for other people. You may not think you are, but you really are. And so what I wanted to do with this presentation was to give people an opportunity to share their tips. And so even though we're presenting today, you yourself still have an opportunity to do so simply by writing your tip down on that cute sheet of paper that you got when you came in. Or it's different now. It's not showing me the display part. Okay, so technology, we're gonna work with you. What is going on? I don't even see the mouse.
Oh, it's like an
There it is.
There you go.
Awesome. Okay. Come on. What are you doing? Oh, it's extended. Okay, got it. Thank you. All right, technology is a beautiful thing. All right, so as I said before, you have a sheet of paper in front of you, or maybe your own sheet of paper. If you feel led to share a tip, please do so. And the reason why I'm encouraging you guys to do that is because all the tips that I've collected will show up in the Georgia Genealogical Society quarterly as a resource for future generations. So this is your opportunity to get your name in the quarterly as well. So a shameless plug for you to consider submitting an article for the Georgia Genealogical Society quarterly. We're always looking for great articles. Take some time out to talk about your family, write an article, send us something, because we definitely want to include you because your story is Georgia's history, just like my story is. So there's several ways you can do this. You can clearly write your tip, your name and email on a document that you have before you and give it to me before we leave today. I'm leaving after Robin's session today. So if you can get it to me before then, that would be great. Or you can send your tip via email to Genealogy Society. No, that's not it. I don't even know my email, y'all. GenSociety.org. I'm sorry. Or lastly, you can take a picture of the QR code and it'll take you right to the form where we collect it. So just a note, I became a little bit more interactive with this because I know people like to take pictures of slides. So I actually have QR codes throughout that will take you to different resources. So with all that being said, first tip, write the date first. I learned this a few years ago from our illustrious Ken Thomas. And it's a very simple statement, but when you think about it, there are times when we find a sheet of paper in our files, there's no date on it, but it has some great information, right? So regardless of what you're writing, what you're doing, even if it's a Word document, Google Sheet, whatever, put the date on it, just so you can see it, even if it's a scrap of paper. And I'm gonna go one step further with this, having worked in the archives, working in public libraries. Whenever you write your notes and you're in a particular research institution, write where you were when you wrote it. So you know exactly, what not really the circumstances, but just record as much information that you can, but make sure you start with the date. Now, some of these tips, they might seem kind of common sense, but sometimes common sense ain't always common. So we're just helping you along because sometimes we get so caught up in what we're doing, we forget sometimes about the basics. And that goes for me too. Just a really quick story. So one of the main things we talk about a lot at the archives is vital records. And we as a staff, and I'm saying we, so I'm Georgia Archive staff today, we have to remember those dates like the back of our hands because we get asked that question often. So I have a person who passed away in 1942. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I was thinking one day while I was sitting at the desk, I was like, I need to find her death certificate. I had an aha moment. I'm like, you tell people all the time that we have the death certificates on Family Search for Georgia up to 1943. I forgot it myself and then applied to my own research. So that was an aha moment for me. So sometimes the information that you share constantly, you forget to practice what you preach, if you will. Next tip is from our illustrious past president, find your happy place. She's not here, so I can talk about her because she'll probably be mad if I put on the spot like this, so she probably gonna be upset with me, but that's okay. But Madeline Nix will spend time at certain places, which are her happy places, and she does her research there. And I was always wondering, why would you leave your house to go someplace else to do your research? Simply because, one, you get in a different frame of mind. Like if you come into a research institution like the archives or public library or even Panera, you might want to do some people watching, but at the same time, you're actually focusing on the task before you. Whereas if you're at home, you got the phone, you got the laundry that needs to be done, the kitchen that might need to be cleaned, you got the TV that is very tempting because you want to watch your guilty pleasure. Think about finding yourself a happy place and go there often to do your research. And one of your happy places, if you're local, could be the Georgia Archives. I know this is a lot, and I'm going to try to read it for the people in the back who may not be able to see. But this is from our illustrious Eve Mays, who is our newsletter editor. But she says, did you know that genealogy starts with you? Typically, when you're doing genealogy, you want to start with yourself and work backwards. And I'm just going to read exactly what she wrote. Don't waste your time and money by trying to prove you're a descendant from some famous person who has the same surname as one of your ancestors. Start with yourself, then up to your parents, then your grandparents, etc. Take the time to save as much documentation for each generation as you can find. Create, and I'm going to repeat this, so I'm going to stop there because I didn't take that out, so please forgive me. All right, so this is the extension of that tip. Start an online family tree. And I know this could be kind of controversial because some people are like, I ain't starting no public family tree so them people can take my information and not credit me, or they just take it and it's wrong. Or maybe the opposite is true. But creating an online family tree, even if it's private, is a way for you to actually document the research that you've been spending so much time doing. So it's also a way that you can share it. So Eve says, create an online family tree on Ancestry or other research site that can help you find earlier members of your family based on the records in their extensive collections and on research done by other members of the site. You may even connect with dozens of cousins. How cool would that be? Because sometimes you really don't know who you're sitting next to. So in my genealogy discussion group, we always start with introductions because we really want to connect people by surname, by location, because we are our own best resource. Because if someone is researching in Fulton County, that's going to be my person because I'm like, hey, let's put our heads together. Let's do some research in Fulton County, that kind of thing. So you really never know. That's why settings like this is so important, even post-pandemic, because you want to connect with those people who are like-minded and who may be researching in the same place that you are. This is straight out of my research group, Wesley Chapel Genealogy Research Group. And like I say, even though I've been doing research a very long time, sometimes we forget the small stuff, right? Excuse me. So our member, Ms. Bernita Richardson, always tells us, read the whole census record. How many of us just get to that point where we see our ancestor's name, we go over a few columns up to the point where family, father, birthplace, or mother's birthplace, and we stop? There's some more information to the right of that. There's more information above it and below it. So we really want to take the time to read the entire census record. And this is an extra tip I'm adding for free that I've learned. Spend some time transcribing the record. If you transcribe the record fully, you are forcing yourself to actually read the full document. So consider that. You know how sometimes when you work on a project, you get so focused on doing it, and then when you're not thinking about it, that's when all those ideas start coming to you. That happened to me on the way over, so you're going to get some extra tips. So just continuing on the discussion about the census, you want to learn more about the census. And this is one of my tips. So I have a lot of tips in here. So, shameless plug. I don't know everything. I know a little bit about a little bit. But this resource right here is extremely helpful for you to gain a better understanding of the information that was collected by the census records. So we know the information collected by the census changed every year. And so to have a better understanding of the categories, what they meant by the different racial designations, this is one of the resources. There are more, because you may also want to look at the actual enumeration instructions, which are also available online. So you guys got a chance to take a picture? You good? All right. Not yet? All right. Cool bits. Moving on. So additionally, you want to consider extracting information from the census. Has anyone ever just sat there and decided they wanted to extract all the information about a census record that their person showed up in because they just wanted to see who were the people in the community with the same surname? That's kind of fun when you think about it, but how do you go about doing it? So our group, again, this is one of our assignments. I came across this great resource. called Extract Census Ancestry Excel. And it's by Genealogy TV's Connie Knox. If you have not seen her videos, I would recommend that you do so. I found this one very, very helpful because it provided details on how you can easily extract the information from a census record using Excel. So you can use Excel, Google Sheets, and she gives you all of that information. So if you haven't done it, at least try it. It's definitely worth it, especially like for African-American research when you're looking in the 1870 census and you're trying to figure out, are there any white people with the same surname as your ancestor? This is a great way to do that. And don't be dismayed by the number because, you know, if you're in a town section of a particular county, it's going to be 100 pages. That's okay. Take your time. But the results will be definitely worth the effort. Ready to go to the next one? Yes. All right. So y'all remember as a kid when they told us to stop, drop, and roll? Yes. Nobody's been caught on fire or anything, but the same applies to a certain extent to these records. Now, if you're like me, if I find a record that I'm looking for, I get all excited, and guess what I do? I check it and put it down. If you've seen some of my past presentations, you know I have a uncle, a great grand uncle. We call him Uncle Roy. He was actually Bishop Roy Blake, and he was so many things, but I just knew him as Roy Blake. So when I got his obituary, even though it was one of those obituaries from the Atlanta Constitution that was written by a reporter. Now, you know that's something if it's written by a reporter and it's not just a family place notice, right? I got it, I checked it off, and I put it to the side. When I tell you that obituary has so much information in it, I even use it as a case study and an activity for people to look through just to pull out all the genealogical relevant information. I know that he was one of the disc jockeys for WERD, which was the first African-American radio station that took place on Auburn Avenue. So now that I work on Auburn Avenue, I'm really excited because there are records upstairs that I can look at. He was a recording artist, Lawrence of Harmony from Savoy Records. Guess what? He has music on YouTube. Like, hold up. Then he was also affiliated. He helped start the Hillside Truth Center on the west side with Barbara King, who was at one point his wife. So I got to go over there and talk to them. And even Barbara King's records are upstairs at Auburn Avenue. So you got to look at those records. He also owned businesses, including a funeral home on Simpson Street, I think it was. So there's a lot of information about this man that I didn't even know. And then in his obituary, just to continue digressing, because that's what I do, they talked about his peach cobbler. And I'm racking my brain trying to figure out, did I ever have that man's peach cobbler? If I didn't, I'm upset because they did not give us what we needed when we were kids. This man was famous. But to me, he was just Uncle Roy. But to the community, he was all that in a bag of chips. So we have history walking amongst us. And they're your ancestors. They may even be your colleagues. Madeline Nix is not here. I don't think we're recording this, or we could be. We're recording. Okay. She's going to be mad at me anyway. So if y'all see me with bruises, it's because of her, but she's really sweet. But Madeline Nix, she is a part of the group of people, the Atlanta Nine. She helped desegregate the Atlanta public schools. And we just know her as past President Madeline Nix. Didn't know that, right? See, that's what happens. You got to know that history walks amongst us. So going back to this, because I realized I didn't talk about it. Stop. Take the time to read the record. Transcribe the record, which is look, and listen. Now, you may not know all the genealogical clues that this record holds. That's okay. When we know better, we do better, right? So sometimes you have to revisit the same records that you have in your collection. That's why organizing and knowing what you know, what you have is also important. See, I'm giving y'all more tips, and this is the stuff that's just coming up, right? All right. Know your Georgian. What do you know about the person who's in Georgia? When, where, and how long did they live here? Were they alone, or did they have others with them? Who are the other people they had with them? Were they married? If so, how many times? One of our group members, he has since passed, he talked about how his father was married 5 times. His mom was a 5th wife. So he talked about his struggles and trying to identify the other 4. But I think he got at least 4 out of the 5 or identified them. What is their race? What is or was their race or ethnicity? We know in the society that we live in that race and ethnicity plays a major part in how you locate records and how they are kept. What religion did they practice? So this question was the one that was bothering me on the way here, because it's like, okay, you didn't talk about church records, and church records are so important. So when you think about their religion, were they Baptist? Were they Presbyterian? Were they Catholic? Depending upon what they were, there are resources in Georgia, the Archdiocese of Atlanta. You got Mercer University with the Baptist records. You got Emory University, Pitt's Theology Library that has Method and possibly others. And then you have institutions like the Georgia Archives, who has a ton of them, from AME to Primitive Baptist to Catholic to Jewish. They got all these records on microfilm. So, and there may be some originals too. And then there are also some WPA surveys about churches as well. So there's a lot of resources here. And just think about the institutions that you will visit. I'm sorry, my brain is racing right now because I'm trying to slow it down so I can focus, but it's all over the place. But the one reason that I always recommend, and this will come up later, is that you stop at the state archives or the state library for whatever state you're researching. So not just Georgia. And just a caveat about Georgia, the royal we, there are more than just Georgia records here. There are international records, there are city records, there are other state records. So even if you just hear Georgia, it's not all about Georgia. Because we have other institutions like Washington Memorial. Muriel Jackson's probably going to kill me for saying her name because she's already really busy. And then you have Cole up there in Cobb County. And these are the resources in your community that can help you locate materials because their institutions have resources not just for Georgia. So don't think, oh, it's all about Georgia, which it is because we're all that in a bag of chips. But there are other resources available as well. Did they own land? What was their occupation? Did they serve in the military? There are occupational directories. There are other information out there. So sometimes when you're looking at your research subject, kind of think outside the box. Think about all the parts that come together to create the person, because we are a sum of our parts. So sometimes you have to think of them in part. So every little bit helps. Leave no stone unturned. That's another one of those extra tips I'm giving to you. I gotta hurry up because what's my time?
Till 10:30.
Oh, good, because I have 26 tips, so we're on number 10. So our illustrious Laura Carter, who is actually right downstairs, she said, learn a bit of history. Learn how to find the contextual and historical information about the places and times you're researching to avoid building your own brick walls. This goes along with, actually, I didn't think that was it. So you have to become a subject matter expert for your research locations, because of course there's more than one. If you're lucky to have both of your ancestors coming from the same place, then of course you should be like a double subject matter expert. But whatever county location that you are researching, eventually you need to be able to rattle off facts off the top of your head. And it's okay if you can't do that right now, but that's the goal, because that's how you're going to be able to be a resource, not only for yourself, but for other people. How many of you have heard of the Research Wiki by Family Search? That's really not enough hands. So the Research Wiki, and this was provided by Eve Mays, and she says the free Research Wiki, FamilySearch.org wiki can help you figure out what records still exist for the county where your ancestor lived. That is so very true. So the Research Wiki is a part of FamilySearch.org. How many of you have not heard of FamilySearch.org? Okay, well, that's good. That's good because everybody else knows about it. Because my thing is, if you're doing genealogy research and you're not using FamilySearch.org, then you're not really researching. Because Family Search is the be-all, end-all to genealogy. They have the largest genealogical repository in Salt Lake City. They have provided us with a free resource that has oh my gosh, it has a ton of records in there. And not all of them are keyword searchable, but they're available online. So instead of having to come to a research institution and sit there and leave at 6 o'clock or 5 o'clock, whatever the case may be, you can sit at home at 3 o'clock in the morning with your beverage of choice, dressed in whatever you want to be dressed in, and do research thanks to the people at Family Search. And they have resources from all over the world. So they have worked with repositories all over. Just write your question down and we'll address it at the end. So this is what it looks like. So when I did the screenshot of this last night, they have over 150,000 articles. This is important simply because they have articles about your research locations, about your states, about your counties, even your cities. They have articles on different record types. If you want to learn more about how to do research with probate records, they have an article about that. Military records, they have an article about that. They even have articles about different regiments in the military. So if you really just want to be curious about what types of articles, if you go to this website, you click on the number, it will give you the full list and you can just actually go down. So this is a resource and I am good for giving people homework. So if you have not played around with the Research Wiki, your homework, if you so choose to do it, is to just go and put in the name of one of your research locations.
Think of the number you refer to, the number of articles.
Yep, it's this one right here. So it's in the center of the page. I'm sorry, y'all couldn't see it. I understand that I even took my glasses off, so my apologies. So yeah, it's 150,000 plus articles. So when you go to this page, you can click on that because it's an active link. Thank you, Ms. Cap. All right, next tip. And this is from Dr. Deborah Abbott. If you have, she is a nationally known, probably internationally known presenter, and she's presented several times for us. More recently in April, she did a presentation, and we'll talk about the tip that she shared a little bit later on. But I was in one of her sessions, and she had this really cool little cheat sheet for her counties. So it records pertinent information about your research counties in one place. And so this is what it looks like. Make it a little bit bigger. So, like Morgan County is one of my counties. And so I have here the creation date, the county seat, the parent county, because if I'm looking for people, probably not my people because they had a different situation around 1807. But if I had free people or people who were getting the land during that time, if I was looking for them in 1806 and they ended up in Morgan County, am I looking in Morgan County in 1806? No, I'm looking in Baldwin County, right? So that's why it's good to know the parent county. You can also go one step further and add the bordering counties too, because we know that county borders, state borders sometimes are just a street. So today I'm on this side. Tomorrow I could be in Greene County. I could get married in Greene County because that courthouse might be closer to me than the Morgan County courthouse. So those are the kind, and they may not be side by side. I apologize because I'm doing this off the top of my head and my geography may not be correct. So y'all understand the example though. Record loss. Did they have a record loss event? This could be a courthouse fire. If somebody got upset about some records and decided they wanted to set the courthouse on fire. If y'all haven't read Paul Graham's book about courthouse fires, you really should. There's some juicy stuff in there, but also very informational, pertinent information because it tells you about the record loss. But also record the vital record dates. So for Morgan County, marriage 1808, which makes sense. They started in 1807. Birth and death, Georgia vital records. We'll talk about that a little bit later because I do have a tip. But that's an example of what a county cheat sheet looks like.
Can you make it, yeah.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right.
Copy of your slides.
See, y'all just asking for a whole lot. So tip number 13, create a location profile. This is extremely important. This is where using the Research Wiki is important because it helps you to identify research institutions and resources that you can use to help you with your research. So I didn't put all of my quote unquote Big 10 because it keeps changing because now it's probably at Big 13. But there are some basic categories that you want to look at. Online sources. Where are the online sources for your research location? State archives. If you have not utilized the state archives, the virtual vault, go to from their website or just come here. You have to, especially if you're researching Georgia, you have to know what this resource has or this institution has for you. County courthouses is important, of course, because we're pulling records from the courthouse. Some county courthouses and some counties have archives. Washington Memorial has the Middle Georgia Archives right in the same library as the Genealogical and Historical Room. Troup County has a regional archives. Morgan County has a regional archives. And it's actually really cool because you have one courthouse here, you have the old jail, which is where the archives is, and then you have the Superior Court. So, libraries. Always look at the libraries in your research area. You never know what gems they hold. Look at special libraries like Auburn Avenue Research Library. Of course, academic libraries like the one here at Emory. It has a Haley Bell funeral home records. So you never know, like UGA. UGA has a ton of records. And so if that's in your area or just when you're curious, just, go to their website, type in a name and just see what they have. Statewide resources. How many of you have heard of the Digital Library of Georgia? That's not enough. DLG is responsible DLG is a portal to the digital collections for libraries and other institutions from around the state. So there are records on a lot of things. They are launching records all the time. Like they have, I don't know if they have yearbooks. They have funeral programs, African-American funeral programs. They have city directories. They have photographs. They have a lot of stuff. So now the homework. Digital Library of Georgia. Please visit it. And there are other resources as well. I can't say enough about the virtual vault. It was one of my favorite resources and continues to be. Because if you're looking for marriage records and you haven't been able to find it by keyword, guess what? They're right here, well, to a certain extent, to a certain year. On page 4. That's how much I love it because I know what page it's on. So this is Georgia Archives Virtual Vault homepage. So I'm not going to insult anybody's intelligence by going through this. Take some time to visit this website because it's very important. It has a ton of stuff there, and we're going to reference some other things as well. Digital Library of Georgia. See how pretty it is? You definitely want to go visit it. It is a fabulous resource. It has records for various counties. I mean, if anything else, if nothing else, go see what they have for your research counties because you might be surprised. How many of you have heard of the Georgia Newspaper Project? That's not enough. I'm gonna keep saying that. So, how many of you have heard of Chronicling America? That's not enough. Really quick. Newspapers were the social media of their time, right? They told everybody's business, including who went into the hospital, who came out, who went to so-and-so's house, who was visiting from out of town, who was sick, all of that stuff, right? So the Georgia Newspaper Project is a part of a larger U.S. newspaper project where each state has one. For Georgia, it's at the University of Georgia, UGA, in the basement. I actually went there and it's so cool. Microfilm as far as the eye can see. They got the cities on top of it, so it's really, really cool. But if you're curious about what their holdings are, you can go to their website. And right here, they have microfilm holdings. And they have they've added the counties, which is awesome because it used to be only by city, but you can go there and see what they have for your county. So I'm not going to give you more homework because you got that later on, but you already know what I'm going to say. If you haven't looked at it, please take a look at it. The digital arm of the newspaper project is called the Georgia Historic Newspapers. So I saw somebody holding a paper from it, and so there is information downstairs about this resource. So if you're looking for historic newspapers, this is definitely the place to go. I think the lighter color ones represent the the counties that they don't have newspapers for right now. But this is a constantly evolving resource. So you see all of this, all of the state almost shaded in. Those are newspapers that are there digitized for you to go see. They are keyword searchable, and you can browse by county, and it's a really cool interface. So I'm a big proponent of learning to use these databases, and the best way to learn it is to use it. Go play with it. You're not going to break it. Just go put in your county. Go put in a surname. It's an amazing resource. How many of you have heard of the new Georgia Encyclopedia? Okay, that's not enough. The Georgia Humanities Group, which is being impacted, by the way, by, the national things that are happening, but they are responsible for the new Georgia Encyclopedia. So many of us grew up in the age of encyclopedias where it gave you really quick information about certain things. So if that was something you were curious about, like your city, like something that happened in Georgia, this is a great place to start. And it also has additional resources that you can explore as well. So please, please, please visit this resource, because who knows, it might be here today, gone tomorrow. All right, tip number 14. Date, location, and where to look. The trifecta. Sorry, I'm not a Delta, but okay. So anyway, date is important because you want to know if the actual record exists for the time frame in which you're researching. So the information that you're going to collect from the census record is going to tell you where your people are in time, right? So if you're looking for a birth certificate in Georgia, in Brooks County for 1917, it doesn't exist. You might want it to, but it doesn't. Simply because we know that the vital records for the state, for the most part, even though it wasn't fully adapted, started in 1919. And we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later because I'm running out of time because I talk too much. Location is also important because we talked about courthouse fires, natural disasters. So those impact records as well. But where to look? We are in a digitization age. So now, like say for instance, if you're looking for city directories in Atlanta, you can go to the Fulton County Special Collections. You can go to Fort Wayne, Indiana, because I'm pretty sure in the Genealogy Center they have it there. You can also go to Ancestry. But the trick is you got to remember to look closely at those records because they're generated by humans, and what does humans do? We make mistakes, right? So even in the city directories, there are mistakes because Atlanta actually has two. It has a city and it has a suburban. Somewhere along the lines, they mix some of those up. So you might be looking at their resource thinking, oh, my people ain't in there. That's not the case. Sometimes you have to look closely at the records that are online to make sure that they have the records for your particular location. So another tip, read the descriptions of the databases. Learn what's in them so that you will have you'll be more informed. Okay? I love this one. And the reason why I love this one is because a lot of people think that even though we're in a digitization age, that everything's online. I can tell you, in this building alone, there's no way we could digitize everything. It's cost prohibitive. There's some things that don't need to be digitized because it's not going to be useful for certain reasons, but it's here. And that's true for a lot of institutions. So don't think that everything's online. That's why reading the description is so important. And that's why putting your boots to the ground, not to be confused with that famous song. And I didn't realize it till I was on the way here about the connection. So I don't have a fan. Some people will get that joke. But realize that even though we can research some things from the comfort of our homes, we have to come outside. We have to put on our clothes and go sit for a long period of time and possibly even work some of those older microfilm machines that will give you some upper arm strength, But make sure you go. And that's why we're creating your location profile is so important. So you'll know where to go. You can go, quote unquote, shopping in their catalog before you get here so that you can be more efficient with your time because some of these research institutions, they have limited hours. Luckily, the Georgia Archives is now open during lunch. Did you guys know that? So you can stay here. They won't kick you out anymore. So you can stay during lunch. How many of you played with the full text search on Family Search? All right. So there are labs where Family Search does experiments in a good way. And so one of which has taken genealogy by storm is a full text search, where they now have, and I'm going to read as much as I can that Eve wrote. Don't forget to try the full text search experiment on Family Search, which is familysearch.org/labs, which uses artificial intelligence to interpret handwritten documents. Not always completely accurate, but it does help. So you don't have to go page by page through the old record books looking for your family name. Even though I'm kind of old school, even though I'm not that old, you still want to do page by page because we know things make mistakes, right? So this is what the little image that's on their website looks like. And that QR code will take you to the experiments, the labs page. So you will have to log in to actually play around with it. So this is another one of those resources that you want to take a look at and play with. Okay? Vital records. I love this slide because I wanted you to have a visual of the time frame for the state of Georgia. So we started as a colony 1732. Statehood came in 1788. The first attempt for vital records came in 1875. Almost 100 years later. They actually started in most cases in 1919. So you see how much time is absent? But there are other records. And then there are other locations that actually collected records before that time. So this is on the Georgia Archives website. See, that's the reason why you need to go check out the Georgia Archives website. So there are places like Chatham, Clark, Manual, Greene, Meriwether, Richmond, City of Gainesville, City of Atlanta. Many places had records prior to 1919. And these might be areas that you're researching in, so you have to know that.
Tamika, would you show us, I know you're trying to get through that tips 15, this 6, yeah, that one. Thank you. Got it.
For the application. So applications are important because they have all the juicy information. So like, you know about the Social Security applications and claims index on Ancestry? How many of you know about that? All right, so that is a great resource that has some problems. There's some incorrect information, but it helps you to find information like the mother's maiden name. And if you can, when you're doing research on marriage records, get the application. Because in Georgia, that's where all the information is. I'm jealous of places like Virginia and other places up north where you can find that information by looking at Ancestry. They got everything. Parent's name, where the person was born, all of the part of the marriage license. But down here, we did it a little bit different. We gave you a pretty sheet of paper. Which is helpful because it has a female's maiden name, but it doesn't have enough information. All right, so from Eve, she says, check the probate records. So don't just look for a will for your ancestor. The probate process of handling the distribution of a deceased person's estate, including land, livestock, personal belongings, household goods, and enslaved persons pre-1865 is rather complicated. If your ancestor did not own very much, the local court could have released the entire estate to the widow as a widow's year support to allow her to use or sell whatever is left to support herself and her children. I didn't know that. So I learned a lot from the tips that Eve shared. Also, administrator's records. Your ancestor did not write a will at all, but owned land or valuable items. The widow or someone trusted by the family would appear in the county court to state that he had died but left no will, intestate. The court would appoint someone, an administrator, to manage the inventory and sale of whatever the deceased owned so that his debts could be settled and the widow and children could have money to support themselves. Very important. Probate records are at the probate court, which also went by a different name. Does anyone know the name of the probate court? Yes, ma'am.
Original name?
Yes.
Ordinary?
The ordinary. So if you're looking, I think it's pre-1970s, you're going to be looking for the ordinary court. So you see how these little small tips really add to knowledge about stuff? So Family Search has a lot of these digitized, but they're not keyword searchable. You have to find them. And there's more information. You can look on YouTube and some other resources to help you navigate that website. And Family Search is free. All you gotta do is register with your email. But the thing about it is there are some collections that are restricted, and you have to go to a Family Search Center, which is all over the state. So this is one that is gonna take a little bit of time, so please bear with me because there's a lot of good information about this. So Laura mentions the general militia districts. We typically call them militia districts, right? And so she says, learn how to identify and use general militia districts in Georgia from various periods of time, since these are the boundaries used within counties to collect info, including taxes for school lists. So Tax Digest, which is a valuable annual record, is organized by the militia districts. How many of you know about militia districts? Okay, that's not enough. Because if you're doing, I'm being serious, if you're doing Georgia research, you have to know about the militia districts. And that's why this is so important. So this is a big old map. Probably looks like a bunch of nothing, right? So each county is subdivided into militia districts. Now, this may not be clear, but each militia district is numbered, okay? And so sometimes when you're looking at the census, you might see a number, militia district 400. That's what that number is. That's what it's pointing to. And so I'm going to tell you how you can learn about your militia districts. Fun, right? This map here is a portion of the map that's available downstairs as well as on the virtual vault. See, that's why the Georgia virtual vault is so important. That's just one example. I'm going to give you a few more. This is the Georgia U.S. Gen Web Archives project on Georgia militia district maps. I love this resource. The reason why I love it is because when you click on one of the counties, it's going to take you to that portion of the militia district map. So this is actually Warren County. So Warren County is one of my locations. My family were out of Norwood. So I now know that Norwood resides in militia district 158. But each militia district also has a name. Did y'all know that? Do you know where to get the names? Guess what? I'm going to tell you. Where are we going back to? The virtual vault, right? So when I was working here in reference, there was this big old notebook sitting behind the reference desk. I'm so thankful they digitized it because I didn't realize how valuable it was till I was doing research. They digitized it in the full text notebook. It's online and it's called Militia District Names. So you can actually look for the militia district by name, by number, remember the 158 we just saw, or by county. So I decided, one of my many projects that I'm doing, and I actually got my genealogy group to do it too, if they're in Georgia, is that we are going to get copies of these maps for every county in Georgia that we're researching, okay? Because you know maps are important. Y'all have to have, does everyone have a state map, state county map? If you don't, another homework. Get a county map of whatever state you're researching. That's important because it tells you the geographic location of your county. It also tells you what the bordering counties are. You can also find that information from the Family Search Research Wiki on that state. See how all this is coming together? All right, so if I wanted to know the names of these militia districts, I'm going to go to this resource and I'm going to pull up the page. So this is what it looks like. You can tell it's been used. You see the dark areas? That lets you know it was directly scanned from the resource. So I'm going to go to county. So my project that I'm doing myself is I'm making a copy of all the county maps and I'm writing in the name of all the militia districts. So 155, which is right here, is called Stag Hall. Now I know when I look at the census, if I see Stag Hall, I know that's Georgia Militia District 155. So if I'm going to look at Tax Digest, I know my militia district name is Stag Hall. I know the number is 155. So if the person got lazy and only wrote the number, I now know that. So one of the other interesting things is, you see where it says 154 and how it has two? Sometimes the names change for these militia districts. So I have one in Walton County. Is Lindley in one census record? The next time I see them, they're in Vinegar Hill, I'm sorry. So if you see that, what do you automatically think? They moved, but they didn't. The name changed for the militia district. So this is why it's important to go to the Georgia Virtual Vault, go look at the militia district names, and make copies of all these maps for your resource, so that when you go looking at Tax Digest for schools list, you know exactly what you're looking for and where you're looking. Okay? So this is just bigger, and that's just a full list, because I have a copy of this attached to the actual map. Even though I write it, this is just me being all meticulous about this, I put it in a sheet protector. On the back side is this document, on the front side is a map. So that helps me. That's a part of my toolkit. And I'm still working through it. It's kind of fun, but it can be tedious because I have a lot of Georgia ancestry. So I got a lot of counties, but it's worth it. Make a genealogy friend. So if you don't have one already, find somebody today that you can talk to about your genealogy woes and your genealogy successes. You may already have somebody, but they can also be a resource to help you navigate those genealogical waters, because sometimes you're looking at something that's like, this don't look right. What do you think? You can have that conversation with them. Share your research with others. Why are we spending all this time doing this research and it's just sitting in our papers? It's just sitting someplace. Share it. Find ways, interesting ways to share it. We've done how to share research, our research through one of our members, Mr. Charles Grogan. He actually created cards, flashcards, with pictures of ancestors and a small biographical sketch. Then there are calendars, there are blogs, there are newsletters. There's this long poster that they put up at family reunions with everybody's name on it. And the people, we know sometimes they don't want to tell us anything. They want to keep their business to themselves. But if they see themselves missing off of that big old truck, guess what they're going to do? They're going to track you down, basically tell you, you need to put me up there. And you can remind them, oh, I tried. But hey, come on, I got a pencil right for you. Just go ahead and start writing. You know, that kind of. So we spend a lot of time looking for our ancestors. Dr. Abbott said something on a phone call one day, and I was like, oh my gosh, you're so right. Now, mind you, I've been doing this a long time. I haven't even thought about my own story. So recently she presented to GGS in a webinar, Living Legacy. I can't remember the exact title. But basically, write your story. Who better to write your story than yourself? Because we spend all this time looking for our ancestors. What about us? So you got to treat yourself like an ancestor. Make your list. Like one of the lists that I was happy to make was all the schools that I attended. Something simple. She had another recommendation, list all the places where you visited. You might be surprised. And then use writing prompts. She had one. Make a list of all the famous people you've met. That kind of thing. Or use, like, she had 6 words, you know, start a chapter of your book, because she's actually writing a book. So treat yourself like an ancestor. Some people have even written their obituaries. It might sound morbid, but who better to write the information that you want to be in your obituary than you?
Right.
And I know, because we've seen obituaries, we've seen, you know, all of this information about people who passed on, and it's a fraction of the stuff that they've done. Because I can tell you, my family don't exactly know all the stuff that I've done. They can't write it. They're like, oh, that's just Tamika. They don't know about me being the chair of the awards committee for GLA. They don't know about me being the chair of the scholarship committee for SGA. They don't know about me being on the board of the Georgia Archives Institute. This is not the Tamika show. I'm just giving you examples. They don't know that, well, they know about me being president because I thought it was like, so cool to tell them. And they were happy, but they still don't have an understanding of what that means. So who better to write your story than you? With that being said, it is 10:30. I got done. Wow. So I'm usually walking around because I get nervous up here. I know people tell me don't say that. I've been pretty good today and I didn't cry yet. So you had a question.
I just wanted to say on Family Search, if you are looking at other people's trees, beware, it may not be accurate. That's all.
So y'all heard her in the back.
It's only as good as a researcher.
It's only as good as a researcher. So she made a comment about the Family Search tree. We know that's a world tree and people can change it. That's that whole thing about being leery about using online trees. They can be great resources for information. Always take it with a grain of salt because even if we're looking at an obituary, some child who was born out of wedlock, who might have been a side kid, may not be listed. So you might be missing a child, that kind of thing. But as was said, the resource is as good as the researcher. Sometimes good researchers with good intentions follow the wrong path because we didn't have all the information. Are there any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
What are the poor school lists?
That's a very good question.
What was the question?
The question is, what are the poor school lists? Would anyone like to take that? Nobody?
Hear you.
What are the poor school lists? You want to take your pen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Although it's public education, the four school lists are schools, it could be in somebody's home, it could be, outside that, where individuals want to pay a small amount for their students to go to that school. So it's for the state at the school.
So,
They have to drag that over to the.
okay. Aha. All right, so guess where I'm going? So, since this is like, all right. So this is Georgia Archives website. And the reason why I brought this up is just to show you where you need to start. You can start at the top, which is research up here, but they have all these great icons at the bottom. And the reason why I came here is because it has in the county list. Oh, this is really small. It's really small for me. All right, so just a note, this collection right here is where you're going to find a militia district names notebook. There's also other places, but you can find it there. You can also put this search up there, but for the county records, page 4 is where all the indexes are. So remember how I talked about church records? You can see what church records they have on microfilm from the comfort of your home. You can make your shopping list, right? So here are the county records. And so they have the SALT list. I think the poor school lists are listed on microfilm, if I remember correctly, but I don't know which county has them. So say, for instance, since I was picking on Brooks County, I think that's Brooks County. It's one of the older ones because I think it was like 1854, 58. So when you select the county, these are actually digitized county cards. So y'all remember the card catalogs, right?
Yes.
So the archive still utilizes them heavily. So when you get there, you find your county. So remember that county cheat sheet? I got a lot of information from these county cards because each county has a county card with that information. So that's one place where you can find it. So real quick, because I'm pretty sure that the illustrious Robin Clem is going to tell us some other juicy details. So this provides you with a list of all the records they have on microfilm for the counties. And I wonder if it's in the SALT list. So I'm sorry if I'm making you sick with this scrolling. But if Brooks County doesn't have one, this is just an example. So for whatever county that you're researching, guess what? You should come here and take a look at the county cards to see what they have on microfilm. Some of these records may be on Family Search. So if you see this code right here, SLC, Salt Lake City, it may be on Family Search. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question.